everybody. Welcome to the second edition of Daydreamers with Himika. Today, as I begin the first episode of the second edition, I have the special privilege of inviting a very important guest. I have been reading his books for some time now. His journey is exemplary and phenomenal. Born as Mumtaz Ali on the 6th of November in Kerala, here is the journey of a young boy who goes on to become a spiritual teacher, a living yogi, a reformer, an educationist, among many other things. Today, he also runs the Satsang Foundation, which is doing some exemplary work in the field of skill development, spirituality, and many other humanitarian causes. So, without any further delay, I would like to welcome and introduce you to Sri M. Sri M, welcome to Daydreamers with Himika.
Thank you. Thank you, Himika. So, I've been given a set of questions just now when I entered. I refused to take them yesterday so that I don't conclude before we start anything. I like to keep it this way. So, shall we proceed?
So, Shri M, a very important and I think this is the easiest question that will be for you to answer. The journey from the starting point to today. Now, how would you describe it in the, in the smallest of the lines? How has it been?
If you want a definition, it's difficult to say anything, but as I see it, it has been a one big adventure. It's not a daydream. It's a daydream, night dream, and reality all put together. So, if you ask me, it has been from that point of a young boy meeting a yogi under the jackfruit tree till I am sitting here before you today. It's been a one big adventure, and therefore I think life should be taken at a stride. Never get caught down by any obstacles that come in your way. Move forward. Discard all things that become negative. It's quite natural that I also faced many obstacles, but then there was something firm and steady in me, which kind of took me across all these hurdles. So I'm sitting in peace now.
How brilliant is that? I would like to understand, and these are questions of a lot of people who meditate very regularly, I believe,
Right.
that a lot of times they see certain visions. And over a period of time, those visions, which a lot of people eventually believe could be about their past lifetimes, tend to fade out. It fades out in the next maybe 1 day, 2 days, or something. Why does that happen? Why does the fading out happen?
So fading out happens. First of all, let me tell you, everything that one supposes to be one's past life may not be a past life experience. We need to also look at that. Like you go into what you call past life regression. It's a form of hypnosis. So you go into it, and there is someone who is controlling this whole process of past life regression. So this person can also put ideas into your head, and since it is a hypnotic trance, it could also be a mix-up of what you feel and what this person projects. Some people go into past life regression and come out saying that, oh, we were Maharajas in Jaipur and things like that. It could be one's own wishes being translated into images. So it may not be always reliable. You know what I mean? However, if there are genuine connections with the past, one needs to test it out in this life, go to those places and check out if it's there, if it's true. unless it's so far in the distant past that you're not able to. But generally, and then you know that it's true. But the reason why even genuine experiences sometimes fade off quickly, that was your question, is because the ordinary brain, so look, at the moment, since you don't know the location of the mind, I'm using the word brain. For all we know, as we know it now, the mind is the brain. Thoughts. Thoughts stem out from here, come out from here. So, the brain of an ordinary, when I say ordinary, it means an untrained person is not capable of holding on to these memories. Mainly because it's most of the time engaged in thoughts which are more important to it than these. So those thoughts come to the fore, and all these thoughts about past life and all get rubbed off because the brain is not trained. Okay. Sometimes in the dreams also we have glimpses of past life in ordinary dreams. You and I, everybody dreams. If you don't dream, life is not worth living. We all dream. Forget daydream, also night dream. Now, when you dream, sometimes you have impressions of your past there also in the dream. But during the day, as time moves, it's forgotten. So I have a very practical suggestion in this matter. Soon as you wake up in the morning, take a notebook and note down the important dreams, impressive dreams, the dreams that impressed you the most, maybe also about your past. Note them down immediately. Believe me, the moment you have finished breakfast, they'll fade off from the brain. You cannot remember it. So the reason is that the brain is not trained to go deep. It's always caught up in this transitory world, and it's always trying to focus on something, so that becomes more important than going back to the past. So naturally, these thoughts wipe out those thoughts. So even if in a trance, if you experience something, not dream, suppose you are meditating and you are in a different altered state of consciousness. I'm not talking about hypnosis, but self-hypnosis, which is meditation. You are meditating. Now you are under your own control. Nobody is controlling you, right? You are controlling yourself. Even then, when you get some experiences which you remember, when you come back from that meditation, note it down immediately. Then you will not forget it. You can further research on it afterwards. One way is note it down, but nowadays modern thing would be to speak into a recording machine or something, so that you remember what's being said. If you constantly keep looking at it, then this problem of forgetting will not arise. But the yogi does it naturally because his brain is trained. His mind is trained to focus on what he should or she should and come out from what he should not. So which is why yogis remember their past lives. I have written my something about my past lives in a book called The Journey Continues. Now there are many lives described in it. Believe me, I can remember many more things, but since I don't have proper details on these matters, I have not written about them. But I don't think you should write something if you don't know fully about it. So whatever you find The Journey Continues is what I fully understand. But there must be many more things. I believe the soul goes through many lives. Yep.
Also, in your book, you have mentioned about some parallel universes.
Of course.
Now, without getting into the detail of them, there are a couple of them that have been mentioned. And I would like to understand the journey of these parallel universes. What have you understood about them with time? Are there more than the ones that you have mentioned about?
Yeah. Don't you think it's very strange that we, Homo sapiens, who live on this earth, think that this can be the only world in this whole universe, this Milky Way? You see, just think about it. It's so limiting. It's so, I don't want to use the word idiot. To think that there is only one universe, which is the universe of this, what in the Shastras is called Bhuloka. World, this world. In our ancient texts, there are references to Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, Swargaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, and so on and so on. Numerous. So, first, we should, if you need to explore this, the first thing is you should open up your mind to the idea that there could be, at least could be, other parallel universes, not only just this one. That is the first step, the first switch. If you don't switch that on and are very skeptical about anything else that exists, then you cannot explore it. Okay. Having in my personal experience gone through some of these facts, I would say yes, there are many parallel universes, and in some of them, now in this world of ours, human beings or Homo sapiens are superior and animals are considered inferior. I don't think animals are inferior, but you know how it is. Sometimes my dog looks more intelligent than me when I talk to. So, but it's the usual understanding, right? There may be universes, and I think there are, where the animals are superior to human beings. There may be universes which are totally populated by intelligent cat-like creatures. I mean, it's not fiction. It's not like the movie Avatar. And there may be worlds where there are dog-like creatures who may be more advanced than human shapes. And there are universes where there are advanced beings who have reached a stage which is much more technologically and in many ways advanced than this world that we live in. And I also believe at some point in the ancient times, when the contact was a little more explicit between these two realms, this world and that, and when later on people wrote about it, they could not imagine, so they made a lot of colorful references to gods coming down to earth and going back and things like that, which are actually innocent projections of the understanding of those days when there was direct contact between these worlds. Now, which doesn't mean that there is no direct contact now. But now it has receded into a more secretly done thing than an open affair. So even today there is such contact, but not everywhere. You wouldn't expect an ET or extraterrestrial to suddenly fly down into Kolkata. But maybe in the mountains, in the Himalayas, in quiet places, there still could be contact between these realms and this world. Now, as far as the yogi is concerned, if the yogi has the capacity to move in his or her subtle body, which we call the Shushma Sharira, then it's possible for us to ascertain these facts for ourselves. Look, how many millions are spent on making rockets or whatever, which go to Mars. Instead of that, if you spend 10 years or 15 years working on oneself, because training, you can go there and come back in a split second. Not physically. The physical body can't go, it will disintegrate out of space. But we are not just the physical body. We are the physical body, we are the subtle body also. If you go back to the Shastras, we would say that this is the Sthula Sharira, the physical body. We have the Shushma Sharira, We also call it the Linga Sharira. Then there is a Karana Sharira, so let's not worry about that. But as we have a physical body, we also have a subtle body. And if the yogi works on this, he is able to free it from the physical and allow it to move around in space. Is this daydreaming or real, or what do you say? Daydreamers.
Okay. So
Anyway, it's food for thought. Let's
I-
put it that way. Food for thought.
okay. Since you made a reference, yeah. So since you made a reference of the Himalayas, I would like to understand that while I might not say that all of them, but there's a vast majority that we see of sadhus, saints, masters. They have an affinity for the mountains,
Yes.
especially Himalayas, but
Yes.
of course mountains.
Yes.
So why are the mountains so important or such a strong favorite in the group of the spiritual, in the spiritual clan?
Klein, have you been to Switzerland?
Yes, yes,
You've been
yes,
to the Alps?
yes,
Did you like them?
yes. Loved them.
There's something better than many things, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. You know,
beautiful.
the closer one goes to unman-made things. The table is man-made, TV is man-made, our houses are man-made. Mountains were not man-made. Nobody made the mountains. The sea is not man-made. The great rivers that we have are not man-made. Even that we are sometimes trying to make man-made by putting up dams and streaming them off and so on. But generally, they are not man-made. The great forests, virgin forests, not one cultivated by us, but virgin forests, they are not man-made. So what happens is when the mind and the body go closer to things which are not man-made, then they reflect the glory of that which is beyond the human mind. It happens through contact, through proximity. Okay. And there are certain special areas like the Himalayas and so on. I found the Alps not bad at all in spiritual things. Although we have cafeterias up there, but then you don't have to drink yourself to unconsciousness sitting up there. You can also sip a cup of coffee and look around. Right? That depends on how you are. But I don't know much about those, but the Himalayas I know, as much as I know, including Kailash. I think these have been ancient contact points for terrestrial and extraterrestrial forces. Need not be beings, maybe, but forces certainly. And therefore is this great attraction towards the mountains. As you go up, it's also the rarefied air out there. We use was too much oxygen actually. We could do it much less, but we don't know. We are not trained. The Sherpas who come with you when you climb Kailash, their genes are made in such a way that they don't need that much oxygen. We may need oxygen cylinder. I've never used, but some people need. So, because the rarefied air has a certain influence on your system, which is conducive to raise yourself from body consciousness to higher levels of thought. Which is why great sages have, yogis have lived in the Himalayas. It's not only Indian yogis, there are a great many, like the Tibetan yogi Milarepa. He lived so many years in the mountains, right? So this is the importance of the great mountain. First, it is a natural proximity to unman-made realities, which evoke feelings in our higher mind about that which is behind the whole universe. It opens the veil. Revelation of the veil. This is a Sufi text called of Ali Hujwiri, called, I forgot the name now, I'm becoming old, which is, translated it would mean revelation of the veil. Khasful Majub, revelation of veil. You see 10 women in a veil, in veils, you don't know how they look shapeless, all black, and you remove one, they are all different. In fact, years of wearing the veil might have improved their complexion also. When you're stunned, suddenly. You see this? So in the same way, when you sit with something that is not man-made, like the hills, the mountains, especially the snow-clad Himalayas, the mind opens up to a new revelation, which is not man-made, which is not veiled, which is not covered by tailor's clothes, which is naked and clear. This is why yogis like to live in mountains. I lived in mountains for many years and I enjoyed it.
I also have a question about there is so much of talk of karma and then there is destiny. What is the dance between karma and destiny like? Because we believe that destiny controls us, we have a certain path which is pre-decided. Is the path pre-decided?
No.
No.
If that is the case, I know, but there is no point in doing any effort in meditation or anything of the kind, because if you are not predestined, you won't be doing it. I think it's a very fatalistic way of looking at life. It's not predestined, but I would say that there are certain blueprints which has come to us from biological and also spiritual sources. Let's put it this way. We cannot deny the fact that we are the result of 3 million years of genetic evolution. Biologically, physically, can we deny that? We cannot. And you cannot control that, where it started from. So in a way, one can say that we are predestined. Because look, today I am sitting, you are there, somebody else, Radha is here. We are all today the products of 3 million years of genetic evolution. So we cannot be the same, and our paths may not be the same, the way we look at life may not be the same. This we cannot change. This is predetermined, yes. Having said that, there is also within this genetic conditioning, there is also this wonderful freedom to break through it. Every human being possesses this in seed form. And the yogi who reaches to the depths of his consciousness truly breaks free from this blueprint. Which means there is a potential in everyone to break free of this, even if it is conditioned by all these factors, biological, psychological, spiritual, and so on. We can still break. I am saying that there is a pattern, but there is also an element in us which has the capacity to break free of the pattern. So very often when you see a person under terrible circumstances, and yet after a few years he has got a bright future, people who cannot understand this fact say, oh, he is destined to become great, so he has become great. The fact is, there may be 10 people having the same kind of background. This guy discovered that there is a potential in him to break free of this pattern. So he came out. And the wonderful thing is that every human being has this spark to break free of it. Otherwise, it's useless. You can all carry on with. Huh? How?
How does one break free? How does one break free?
First, to understand that there is an element in us which can break free of the pattern. Of course, astrologers will, their income will end, but but when you understand the fact that there is an element in us which can break free, which is the beginning, the thought, and that we are a spark of the ultimate supreme being, the divinity, is all pervading and which has no patterns and no designs. The first step is to understand this infinite potential in us. Even physically, verbally, even to say that, look, and once you get it, then you are out. Then there is no destiny. You are your destiny. You are the captain of your soul. But we all have that. That is the good news. Now, when the ancient Upanishads said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Brahman, it automatically means that you are not what you think you are, controlled by all these factors. You are eternally free. So therefore, when you meditate on this factor over and over again, and don't let any design cut down your potential, then in the spiritual field, of course, also in the world around us, we might be able to make new patterns out of the old and break free from barriers. This is the real message of Vedanta. You are not who you think you are. You are much more than who you think you are. And believe me, you have a wonderful word which you are using for your portal, which is daydreamers. It's the daydreamers who finally achieve the dreams. If they say that, oh, this is my destiny, I'm going to die here, nothing will happen.
Okay, okay. Now, since we spoke so much about this journey, whatever little I have understood from people, for some people, this spiritual consciousness journey is easy. It flows. And for some, the same journey is full of barriers. In fact, when they start, that is when all the things go wrong in their lives. Trouble starts.
You're right, you're right.
Why does this happen? Why does this happen for people? And when it's happening, what should they do then? Because they get frustrated. Why is it not going right for me? It's going so right for somebody else.
Now, this is where we should understand that all are not made equal. We all come with so many different karmas, different tendencies which we have acquired over many years. If you see in the spiritual line a child prodigy, suppose, who at a very young age finds out, this is what I should be doing, this is not my life, there is something beyond. Believe me, it's not destiny, it's not that sheer luck, or it's not chance. This is a mature soul who has for many lives been working towards it. And in this life, at quite an early age, he has figured out that this is the culmination of my journey. The guy who is just started in this life exploring it may face much more obstacles than this guy, because he hasn't thought about it, he has just thought about, which is wonderful. So, unless he clears these barriers with a lot of hard work and perhaps guidance of a good teacher who has already passed through these barriers and knows how to handle it, it would be not easy for a person to move forward in the spiritual life. While you will see that that guy is handling it quite well, because he has already gone through much of this which is happening in this life for somebody. Also, if you need to be finally on the spiritual field, free from the clutches of the conditionings of nature, of this world, and if you want to so urgently do it in this life itself and not wait for many lives to come, if you're serious, very serious, you want that only, nothing else, then it's quite natural that you might burn out all the experiences that you might have had in several lives in this one life. So it may appear to be terrible for you. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a chapter on meditation. There are many chapters. After having taught how to meditate and so on to Arjuna, this poor guy says, look, Krishna, you say all that, but it's not possible for me to do it. You're saying that your mind should become as steady as a flame when there is no wind and so on. It's not easy for me to do it. I've been trying, like as you said, I've been trying many times, but it doesn't work. So what will happen to me? What's my fate? Having applied much of my mind to the spiritual, I haven't attained it. And therefore, I have neglected this world because my energy was spent there. So for such unfortunate individuals, what will happen what happens? I die like this, uncertain, or what happens? It's a question that many people ask, not only Arjuna. Krishna says, listen, all people who have put their complete energy on trying to find the truth or for spiritual advancement, everything they have done till that point, suppose you are dying, they are all there in your savings account. Nothing goes, no diminishing. It's there. So, in the next birth, such people are called yoga bhrashtas, who could not complete their yoga. Such people in their next life will be born in under such circumstances, either in family of wise parents, generations who have gone through the scriptures and understood the facts, so that from childhood they are trained towards that and attain fulfillment. Or they will be born of very wealthy parents, so that very soon they realize the limitations of wealth. You know what I mean? So, if you see some people who are very young are moving towards that, they could be yoga bhrashtas. It's not common for everyone to happen. But the second thing I said was, if you wish to break through this conditioning, generally it takes many lives. Generally. But if you are so sincere and you say, I have to do it in this life, I don't want to go through this whole hog. Hog is not a bad word. We have an avatara which is a hog, Varaha avatar. So, if one thinks that in this life only one has to break through everything and not wanting to wait for many lives and so on, it's natural that all the experiences and sorrows which you might have had in all these lives to come may all come together in one life. Why? Because you need to finish it off. You don't want to wait. You may not have thought about it as a conscious decision, but that's how it works. That is why some people have so much trouble when they start on this path. Third point, everybody is swimming along with the stream. One person stands up and says, I'm going to swim against the stream. You see how difficult it is? This is the third reason I can find. There may be many more. If we explore, we might find out. This is food for thought. Think about it.
All right. We can do that. Um, Also about Sri Vidya. Now, Sri Vidya, I read about your journey with Sri Vidya in your book. I want to understand, is Sri Vidya an extremely important step in the path of spiritual consciousness?
Yes and no. Why yes? Because when you say Sri Vidya, it does not, even generally it does, but what it really means is not to do with the mantra of Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya simply means knowledge of the reality, supreme reality, here depicted in feminine gender. Sri. Sri is the short form of Srimati, which means the absolute energy called Parashakti, which pervades this universe. Understanding this is the knowledge called Sri Vidya. So, in any discipline, understanding this is important, whichever way you go. However, when you refer to the sadhana called Sri Vidya, now that's a different thing. It's not required. There are many people who have attained the highest without going into the actual practice of Sri Vidya. Of course, they touch the Sri Vidya, not the actual practice of Sri Vidya. Normally, when people talk about the practice of Sri Vidya, they mean the mantras which are associated with Sri Vidya. Now, Sri Vidya belongs to the Tantra. The Sri Vidya mantra is supposed to be the Tantra Gayatri. Side by side with, I am not saying deliberately against, but side by side with the Vedic Gayatri, which is Om Bhurbhuva Swaha, the Vedic Gayatri mantra. The Tantric Gayatri is the Sri Vidya. And the Sri Vidya is a mantra which has no particular meaning in its words, but is a collection of certain sounds. Sounds are called bija aksharas in Sanskrit. Bija means seed. Bija is seed. Akshara is indestructible. People say akshara is alphabet, but the real meaning of akshara is akshara, that which cannot be destroyed. Right? So, certain sounds which have an effect in awakening the inner energies and breaking through the conditionings which prevent the inner energy from awakening. And this inner energy itself is Sri Vidya, Devata, Rajarajeshwari, Tripura Sundari. There are various names used. It's wonderful that it's a feminine energy, see. So, the Sri Vidya mantras are those which have a collection of bijaksharas set in a certain way with certain timings for chanting between the syllables, and the centers inside the psychic centers were called chakras. Which chakra should be give attention to when we chant a particular bijakshara, and so on, tied up together. This is called Sri Vidya. And there is one variety of Sri Vidya which is called Panchadashakshari, which means the 15 letter, which means there are only 15 seed sounds there. I can give you one example. Hrim. Hrim is a bijakshara of the Devi. And there are several others. Now, then there is one after that called Sodashakshari, which means there are 16 bijaksharas. 15 and 16. And usually people start with the sadhana of what is called Bala Tripura Sundari, which is only 3 syllables. Through constant chanting on different centers and practicing of certain meditation techniques, the inner energy called Parashakti is activated in the system. Adi Shankara, who is considered to be the greatest of Vedantins that we know of, was also an expert on Sri Vidya. And in this beautiful text called Saundarya Lahari, written by him, he has set the Sri Vidya mantra bijaksharas into it. And if you know the key, you can actually discover it there. The meaning of Saundarya Lahari is the experience of Sri Vidya. Saundarya is beauty, Lahari is ecstasy. The ecstasy of beauty, Saundarya Lahari. So this roughly is all I can say about Sri Vidya at the moment.
Now, since earlier we spoke a little bit about the astrologers, I want to understand that, see, as of today, we are living in a world where there is a lot of calamity, a lot of chaos that we have faced, only we still are facing it
So do you think
with
astrologers
COVID-19.
do you think
No, no,
astrologers
no,
can
no, no.
solve this?
No, no, I'm coming to a certain point.
Mm.
So what happens is there is a lot of insecurity and fear also among people.
Right.
So the astrologers are definitely, their piece has elevated. People are going to them a lot more than they were going to them before, is what I'm seeing around us. Tell me something. This whole idea of rituals that they tell us, or a certain idea of gemstones, or going to a certain temple at a certain point in a day, at a certain situation, or doing this puja at this point of time. This whole karma can't practice to elevate you or to rid you of some past karmas, etc. How effective is any of this?
Well,
Is this really necessary?
it is effective because if you believe in them, you have some kind of a relief. Personally, I never consult astrologers. I never go to them. And karma kanda, you said something called karma kanda. The karma kanda has nothing to do with astrologers. Karma kanda was what each householder practiced by himself. In those days, there was not even the need of a priest. You had your own fire at home, and you did your own rituals. It's when people became lazy and did other things that priests became professional. So now it is a good business, that's fine. If it gives some happiness to some people, it's okay. But it's not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is, as long as you're in this world, some kind of insufficiency, incompleteness will be there, sorrow. And you can take your mind off by doing some ritual and going somewhere, that's okay, that's fine. But the root of the problem is, as soon as you are born into this world crying. Nobody is born into this world laughing, because deep down the mind knows we are going to face a lot of trouble. To understand this and to deal with it is the journey of the self towards freedom. And when that journey starts, all these things are not required. They are not so important. See, if I discover the source of all energy is inside me, do I require any external aid for that? Except perhaps a good teacher. Okay. I also see that there are ancient temples where images were installed by great beings. So they probably are charged with energy. You cannot deny that also. See, what is the process of establishing a consecrating image in a temple? First the image is made, right? Or discovered if it is ancient. Even a dilapidated temple where already an image exists, when it is renovated and when it again begins to attract people, something is done which is called prana pradishta. It's part of karma kanda. Prana pradishta. Now prana pradishta is, to put in simple words, is to invoke that particular deity into one's heart first, and then transfer it through avahana into the image. It need not be a human image, it could be just a linga. So then what happens? After that, that image becomes powerful. So where did it come from? From here. So the prana pratishta is done by a human being who has invoked the deity into his or her own heart. I am of the opinion that women should start doing prana pratishta now. Why only men? Huh? So, can't they also invoke the divine? New trend. Anyway, so this is what it happens. So, therefore, there are some places which are imbued with some energy, so it might be useful. I understand. But the root of the problem is different. It's that as long as you don't find your inner self, which is a part of the all-pervading supreme reality, you will still be faced with problems. You will go to temples, you will go do this, that ritual, but it will remain. It's the nature of the world. So it's as well face it than try to escape it. You can have temporary relief, of course.
Also, about Kundalini Shakti, there are books written on it. I have seen different kinds of people reacting to it in a very different way. There's fear, there's also greed for it. Is it a is it something is it some kind of energy that somebody needs to be scared of? And tell me something about it.
Okay.
Because I read about it in your book. Please tell us.
Sri Vidya is also Kundalini.
Okay.
You see, let's put it this way. There's something, this whole universe is made out of modifications of energy. This is clear. Even in physics it's clear. Now the ultimate primordial energy in the Shastras is called the Parashakti, the supreme energy. Shakti means energy. That's the word used in Sanskrit. Okay. Now this energy therefore is in some form or the other in everything living and non-living, even in atoms physically. Otherwise the electrons won't move. There's some energy out there. In the human being is this energy which also brings about the desire for expansion, which in ordinary terms can be interpreted as the sexual desire to procreate, part of procreation. So it is the same energy, this Parashakti, in the form of desire. You see, desire is an energy, right? It's a fire. It's not something down like water, it's fire. You say somebody has ignited the fire of desire in me. In fact, in Sanskrit, the fire is called Agni, which is also the root of the word igni in Latin. Agni, igni, ignite. You have an ignition switch in your car. So, this fire is a form of this supreme Parashakti which is behind everything in this universe. In the human being, it also expresses itself as desire to create, for instance, sexual desire to procreate. When this happens, two people come together. This is Tantra. Two people come together. And the desire is ignited and the seed is dropped in the Havan Kund. Now this seed develops into this egg, then develops into a fetus. And this fetus then grows up into a walking, talking, speaking human being. All that has happened is 2 drops have gone in, that's all. As far as we know, the offering is only that much. Brahmarpanam. And out of it, this whole universe, this human being has come out. Complex human being. Now what happens, this Parashakti which has done, this energy which has done all the work of procreation and created this human being inside the womb in the form of a fetus and afterwards a developed human being. At a certain stage, when the baby comes out of the womb after 10 months, or I don't know, 9 or 10 months, that energy is not diminished. It's still there. It's not diminished. In the new creature that is formed, the new vibhuti that has happened, this energy still is there in potential form in the new creature. There it hides as the Kundalini at the bottom of the spine of every human being. Why bottom of the spine? Because it is the closest to the original center from which procreation takes place. I don't know anybody has explained this to you this way as I am telling you. No. So it's there in potential form. And the Tantras have depicted it as residing in the form of a snake coiled 3.5 times. Why coiled? It is the same potential energy which has created this whole being. Having done its job, it has not diminished. It's still the same. Purnamada, Purnamidam, it's still complete. And there it resides in the Muladhara, in the root foundation. It's kind of asleep because it's not required for the other works that are happening inside. Prana takes care of everything, life energy, which of course is derived from it. Now when a person wants spiritual awakening and wants to go back to the source of that energy from which he was formed, he goes to the Muladhara and through various ways, through certain desires, certain practices, awakens the sleeping energy. A snake is only a symbol. There is no snake up there. I haven't seen any. It awakens this energy. And then this energy moves from the gross to the subtle, to the subtle, to the subtle along the spine till it comes to the Sahasrara, which is the cerebrum. According to Tantra, Shiva, the supreme silent being, while Shakti is the active part. The silent Shiva meets finally the Shakti that goes up and they come together. This is the Saundaryalari, the ecstasy of beauty. This is the Kundalini, this energy. It's nothing very mysterious, although there are books called Mysterious Kundalini. Incidentally, somebody wrote a book called Mysterious Kundalini, where he says the right vagus nerve is the Kundalini. I don't know how he got this conclusion, but anyway. So it's a very real force which is in everyone, man or woman. Man or woman, it resides in the Muladhara as a feminine force. As it ascends the spine and reaches here, it comes together with it's a cathode, it comes together with the anode. When the anode and cathode come together, there is the spark of realization. This is the Kundalini, to my understanding.
Okay. But you also mentioned that at least there is a lot of emphasis on, even if somebody has to, invoke Kundalini Shakti, it should ideally be done only with a master who understands the Shakti.
Better.
So how can it become dangerous? Because today what happens is there are a lot of,
I understand.
I
get it.
Teachers who say, oh, I can, your Kundalini Shakti.
Yeah, now in $500 you can raise.
So the need for a teacher who understands this.
Yeah, the reason is you are dealing with an energy which is more powerful than atomic energy. It's more than a hydrogen bomb that was dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. If you're really serious about it and if you really touch it. If it is just an illusion and fantasy, it's okay, it doesn't matter. It'll go off after a while. But if it is real, unless the body and mind is prepared to withstand the shock of the awakening, it can end up in madness. Therefore, it's best not to mention the Kundalini, not to go and poke things which you don't know about. Leave it like that and do the rest of your yogic practices till you're purified and strong enough, then it will happen by itself. There's no need to go and poke. That's my understanding. That's what happens generally. If it's just imagination and nothing is Kundalini, nothing has happened, but it's just that one is imagining and so on, that will subside after a while. But if it is really that for some reason, then one has to be very, very extremely careful about touching this kind of energy and not given to this thing like, oh, you do this practice and give me this much money. Or if it really happens without preparation, it can end up in disaster. So there are some rules and regulations to be followed.
I have two.
Yeah. Tell me.
So I have two last questions now. One is, so when I spoke in family and friends about this interview, there is a family friend who has been following your journey, and in one of your interviews, he happened to see that you were looking for a possible successor or somebody who could take the journey forward of the Satsang Foundation, and you have been training students.
Are you
So
ready?
have you? Should I ask you?
Joking.
So have you found a successor?
No.
Was the question.
No.
No.
I hope somebody comes. We don't know. As yet, no. Because this is a very sensitive place to sit in, you know, this seat. You can get carried away, you can get trapped. Various things to note, so you need someone really mature for that. Not mature in the sense age-wise, but mind-wise. So maybe somebody will come, or maybe I'll go without someone, who knows.
Well, I hope it happens.
I hope so too.
My final question to you is, as this journey continues and as so much of the journey and such wonderful things have happened, today after so many different experiences, if I were to ask you, Shriyam, who is God? What have you understood of God?
What is my idea about it, right? Right? Because God is such a word, it's such an all-encompassing word that it's difficult to give a definition for it as a general definition. If you ask me, what do I think? I think, from my understanding, people mistake the word God. This is basically because of the word has come from another language. It is not our language. Here, there are so many words to describe divinity. From the Vedantic point of view, from the yogic point of view, Ishvara or Brahman or Paramatman are not God in the usual sense of the term of a creator sitting there creating human beings, fashioning them and throwing down into the earth, and when they don't behave, beating them up and so on and so forth. So my understanding of this word is that it is that which generates this world as well as this energy, and having generated it, operates it throughout. And when transformation is required, the old has to go and the new has to come, therefore destroys it. So I would say G would be for generation, O would be to operate that which has been generated, and D would be to destroy the old so that there is space for the new. If there is an energy engaged in doing this, this is God. It's the Om actually. A for creation, U for preservation, and for the end. You see, if I have to say a new word, I have to open my mouth again, otherwise it's finished with Om, over. One phase is over. Then I start again with A. This is divinity. You can call it God. But today the greatest God we know is Google. Capital G.
Capital G. Interesting. Google would love to know that.
I told them already. I go every
called Buddha for a long time.
I go every year to the Google headquarters. We have a talk usually.
Okay.
So it was nice talking to you. That was nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shriyam. This is basically Daydreamers with Himika is actually an initiative where I normally go and speak to people who are into new ideas, a lot of times new startups, unconventional careers, or people who are just daring to live the dream that they had.
Right.
So it is so wonderful that the second season has started with you, and a lot of people who are following it are going to gain a lot of inspiration from your journey because your journey is a very different one.
Thank you.
And I would request everybody to go and read Apprenticed to a Himalayan Yogi because it is a different world that one meets out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate.